Sex trafficking in Maine. You might not think crime like that can happen so close to home, but in reality, it happens more often than you might think. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Ucono.
And I'm Amanda Hill. Recently, there was a break-in-one investigation that led to 2 massage parlors suspected of human trafficking being forced to close, and the man police say owned them arrested. News Center Maine's Pearl Small is here with more on how authorities were able to shut those places down. Pearl?
Amanda and Brian, this investigation has been going on for months. We've been tracking it since concerns were raised about sex work happening at a massage parlor in Bath, and that case is now connected to a different spa in Lewiston. The man police say was at the center of it all was arrested in Boston over the weekend, and he's now back in Maine to face human trafficking charges. On one of the busiest areas in Bath, right down the street from City Hall.
I think that their location here in Bath certainly caught the attention of our community.
Town manager Mark Myers says it immediately raised red flags when a business called Zinyi Spa opened up back in April at 65 Center Street.
There's certainly concerns throughout the community about the potential of human trafficking and other illegal activities taking place there.
Many of the concerns came from social media, with people posting about the spa, its blacked out windows, generic posters showing a woman getting a massage, and a phone number that leads to an escort site. When people tried to enter the spa, they were told it was appointment only and women were denied service.
We didn't have a criminal complaint in order to investigate.
Myers says there were barriers preventing Bath from launching a criminal investigation. But after looking deeper into the business, they found a different way to address the concerns.
Soon found out that they had codes-related issues.
Bath sent Richard Chu, the owner of the spa, a cease and desist order. And within a couple of weeks of opening, the spa was shut down. We were able to enter the building after to see what remained, a mess of plaster and dust from what appeared to be torn down walls. The cease and desist letter noted that the spa had been illegally acting as an adult business. However, this wasn't the only location owned by Chu.
Surveillance was conducted over the course of several weeks at the business to include in-person and pole camera surveillance operations.
Chu was arrested over the weekend by the Lewiston Police Department for allegedly operating another illicit massage parlor on Sabattis Street in Lewiston, appearing much like the one in Bath. Police told us they served a search warrant at the Sabattis Street location and found 2 sex trafficking victims, as well as $12,000 in suspected sex trafficking proceeds.
State of Maine versus Richard Chu.
In Chu's court appearance Wednesday, Androscoggin County District Attorney Nate Walsh shared some of the details coming out of the investigation, including an interview with a man as he left the spa.
That man admitted that he had paid for a sex act while inside of the business on that day.
The people who police believe are victims of sex trafficking were found to be undocumented and brought illegally into the country through Florida. They told investigators they owed money to the people who brought them in the U.S. Chu pled not guilty to all the charges, and his lawyer says he believes the business is being misrepresented.
Mr. Chu strenuously denies the nature of involvement that is alleged here.
Chu's bail was set at $75,000, and his conditions of release include having no contact with the victims. Now, although Chu's charges were all in relation to Lewiston, Assistant District Attorney Walsh hinted this investigation spans far beyond Lewiston and Bath.
Police determined that the defendant was also involved in massage parlors that were opened in other cities across the state, to include Kennebec County, as well as Oxford County and southern parts of the state.
Now, we'll continue monitoring this investigation as new information comes in, but in regards to Bath, sources tell me it's not uncommon to use code enforcement to shut down a business like this, but often those businesses just pick up and move to a new location. The organization Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Services is helping workers at the spas who were trafficked. Brian and Amanda.
Pearl Small with a major development today. Pearl, thank you. We have an update tonight on something we first told you about last night, right here at 6 o'clock, about Main Street in Lisbon Falls being blocked off because of some kind of incident there. Well, the Lisbon Police Department now says that incident was a case of reported domestic violence that then escalated into a police standoff, and it lasted for 9 hours. The man at the center of it, Thomas Bain, was taken into custody right around 1 o'clock this morning. He is being charged now with assault, terrorizing, and creating a police standoff. We are hearing from Maine's cannabis regulators now after the state's first cannabis product recall.
The Office of Cannabis Policy recalled 4 different products, one of which is cannabis flower, 3 of which are cannabis pre-rolls. All of them were produced by the company Cannabis Cured and were sold here in Maine between August 27th and September 9th. The reason for the recall is they failed testing for yeast and mold. The director of the Maine Office of Cannabis Policy says with issues like this, there are safeguards in place to prevent recalled products from spreading.
The track and trace system in the adult use program has been integral to making sure that the recall in this case is isolated and targeted only to the products that we know tested positive for mold. Without that system in place, the recall likely would have been much broader.
In a statement sent to News Center Maine, Cannabis Cured Chief Executive Officer Samuel Crockett says in part, quote, all of the recently recalled products had a certificate of analysis showing that standards had been met, and that when the state informed us of the new test results, we immediately removed these products from stores and stopped sales. Cannabis Cured puts safety and product quality above all else.
Some leaders here in Maine are reacting and calling for action after the U.S. Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against the state this week. The DOJ is claiming the state violated the Americans with Disabilities Act. Specifically, the suit says Maine is failing to provide community-based care for children with behavioral health disabilities, resulting in children having to stay in hospitals for months as they wait for placement. In some cases, they're sent out of state facilities. Now, a Democratic lawmaker is calling on Governor Janet Mills, also a Democrat, to resolve the lawsuit. State Senator Joe Baldacci, who is running for re-election, says Governor Mills should be personally involved in finding solutions to the long-running issues and services the state provides to disabled children.
She needs to reach down and talk to the middle management, not just the top management of the department, and try to figure out real solutions. The federal government isn't going to wait. The speed needs to be ramped up in terms of our response.
Ben Goodman, a spokesperson for Governor Mills, tells us in a statement the governor has been actively engaged. She has been briefed throughout the state's negotiations with the U.S. Department of Justice, and she will remain involved in any ongoing discussions with the litigation. We have reached out to both Senate and House Republicans for comment on the lawsuit, but we have not heard back. Still ahead, right here tonight, remembering those who lost their lives on one of the darkest days in U.S. history.
But first, how a new project will hopefully give those new to the housing market a chance at home ownership. You're watching News Center Maine at 6.